Hello, and a very warm welcome to this week's episode of the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast, where we are talking about investing in property in a way that creates freedom. So we're covering everything from big picture strategy, maximising your potential, and right down to practical solutions. And today we're talking about a mixture of that maximising your potential and practical solutions coming together. And this is Dom and Dave that will be joining you this week, talking about how to get out of your head and into action, using journaling to help you keep you focused, to help you to process and make decisions, and to ultimately really propel you towards your goals. So a really awesome episode here with Dom massively in his flow. So you're really going to love this one. So without further ado, here's Dom and Dave.
Hello, Dom.
Hello, Dave, in South Africa. Enjoying the sunshine or not?
Oh, not? Yes, no, we're in South Africa right now, and I've just had my brother visit for a 4-day golf trip, of which 2 of the days we played in the rain, and then the other 2 days it was so rainy, we didn't play at all. They closed all the courses. In fact,
That's rubbish, isn't it?
4 days he was here, he didn't see the sun once. It was just clouds in the sky the whole time.
Oh, it's so disappointing. Like if you go on holiday, it's like you have to have good weather. Otherwise, it's not holiday. And so I feel sorry for him. But at the same time, it's a nice problem to have because at least he's been to South Africa.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's where we are at the moment. Anyway, today's topic of conversation, Dom, journaling. Journaling, its uses, how you use it in life, what is it for? We're going to cover it all.
Absolutely. I love journaling. I'm actually quite a recent convert to journaling, actually. So I've, as with any new topic, I think it's good to study it and find out the best methods, the benefits of it and who does it and why and how and when and all those things. So this podcast is going to share all the stuff that I've learned and also, my experience and the experience of other people that have used the methodology, because I think it's absolutely essential. In fact, it is one of those things that highly successful high performers use as a method for improving their performance and clarity of mind and all those things. So yeah, I'm excited about it. But what about you then, Dave? Are you a journaler?
Full disclosure, I am 100% not a journaler. Journaling is not in my repertoire of tools, of techniques. I have tried it once and I didn't continue with it. So yeah, I'm coming at this from the angle of someone who hasn't really explored journaling. So I'll probably be asking you a lot of questions, Dom, trying to make sense of this thing that could be useful in my life or not. And hopefully, you can shed some light for us all. So with that in mind, Dom, let's just start. Can you just explain when we talk about journaling, what is it? What do you mean by that? Maybe some examples of different types of journaling, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what is journaling? Very simply, in one sentence, it would be thinking on paper. You have 30 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of them, basically, they're just electrical impulses that are happening through the neurons in your brain, and they don't go any further. But we have so many of those thoughts. But really, what we want to do is capture the really good ones. And that's where journaling comes in. Capture brilliant ideas on paper. Because when you go from a thought to actually writing it, you're going from a wave, effectively electrical impulse, to something physical. You've actually started to bring that idea to reality in the form of writing it on paper, or maybe writing it on the laptop or wherever it might be. So that's one of the things, is that it's capturing ideas on paper, which is so important because there's so many that we have. Your desires, all your intentions, when you write them down, you enhance focus on what it is that you want to create in your life. A lot of people have ideas all over the place about what it is they want. Oh, I want to win a lottery here. Oh, I want to go to the cinema there. Oh, I'm going to eat this here. There's so many ideas. Actually, when you're deliberate, as per Jackie and your book, Focus Your Way to Freedom, when you're deliberate about what it is that you want, you're focused and you're clear about what you want, it increases clarity about who you are and what you're becoming. And clarity is the DNA of mastery. If you want to get brilliant at something, we need crystal clarity. It's like using 100 words to describe something rather than using 2 or 3 words or a sentence to describe it. It's so much easier to understand when it's a sentence than if it's a big long monologue, for example.
I guess,
Another idea around clarity
well,
is, or journaling is
going to ask you then,
reflect.
just
Sorry, go on.
sorry, just before you carry on to the next point, how would you say with journaling, if you're if you're journaling and you've got your mind just trying to get it down onto paper, how do you get that clarity straight away? Because obviously most of the time that is a monologue, and you are monologuing onto paper, and it does end up fat, full of I say fat in terms of
Love. Yes.
excess, flabby. So I guess how do you get that in your methods or how you would approach it from that just brain spewing out to a
Yes.
concise, useful, succinct thing?
Mm. Good question. And I would say the answer to that is because you're writing, ideally, with your hand, you're having to slow down. And when you slow down, the brain is more coherent effectively. You're going from a beta brainwave frequency to a more sort of maybe a high beta, like stressed, to a low beta where you're more relaxed and just in a learning mode. So by writing it with your hand, you're actually slowing it down. And so that helps in itself to gain more clarity and slow you down to focus. But also you can use it. You can write a whole page, and actually from that writing, you'll hone in on the main point or the main insight from it. So is something I'd say is
So would you
a
say
good way
almost
to.
part of it is you might be journaling and just going with what's coming out of your brain, but also just the nature of it is a creating of succinctness as it comes to the page and a noticing of the relevant, most important aspects as you write it down.
Yes,
So those two things are clarified just by the act of going from brain to paper.
to hand to
Got you.
paper. Exactly right. Yeah, because your thoughts, you can have so many thoughts per second, almost. Whereas writing things, it obviously slows it right down. So as a result of it, you're right. So
See,
that's another one. And reflecting also. So another thing about journaling is kind of looking back at the day or the week that's happened and kind of going, well, what did work? What did go well? What did I do differently from the week before that has improved my life? And when you are deliberate about you know, reflecting on your performance, you become a better performer. You're conscious, you're made aware. And as we know, awareness is absolutely critical to change. We can't change unless we're aware of it, until acknowledge what's holding us back. So it's one of those things that it promotes wise behavior. Promotes reflective learning. There's two types of learning. One is repetition, and the other one is reflecting on what went well, and therefore what we need to do differently next time. Also, by writing it down, it's a bit like writing a to-do list. It's far more likely to happen if you've written it down than if you try and remember it in your head. If you've written it down on a to-do list, like I'm going to do this, and it's like, oh yeah, I've done that. I can tick it off now. So it's like a commitment to yourself when you're journaling and when you're writing things down. It increases the promises you're making to yourself. Um, it captures peak ideas. There's the reflective learning. There's, oh, that's a brilliant idea. I want to capture that. Where do you get your best ideas, Dave?
my most creative, best ones come when I'm meditating. And admittedly, I do. I meditate, and then I do have a book or my phone open on an easy access thing to write them down as I meditate. So that would
So there we
be,
go. There's a form of journaling in itself. So you do journal a little bit, and maybe other people will realize that too, right? If you write something down, that's a form of journaling. It's a bit like the people go who are, I don't meditate, as in they don't sit quietly in the corner of a room cross-legged, but they'll go for a walk in nature on their own and just allow their minds to. That's a different form of meditation. This just like you writing down your thoughts after meditation. That's a different form of journaling. So I think maybe people do it more than they might expect, perhaps. So yeah, it's good to capture those genius moments, those insights that you have from meditation, or in my case, going for a walk or for a run. I have the best ideas when I'm outside generally, and so capturing those is essential to putting them into action.
I guess,
Yeah, go on.
I'm gonna just one thing that's come to me listening to everything you said there is it feels like it's a way to become almost like your own guru, your own
Mm,
guide, right? Because most of us go through life with thoughts just running wild in our heads. It's an unstructured, non-clear, very confusing world up there in the head of just randomness almost of what you're
Yes.
just thinking,
Yes.
thinking. And in a way, when you go to a mentor, you go to a guide, what they're doing is so often just helping to distill or clarify the right path for you or the right thing for you. Usually, in the best cases, from an angle of having heard what you're trying to achieve or what you're wanting. So they'll hear this spew of thought, they'll try and they'll work through it and they'll kind of help to guide you to the best path for you. And
Yes.
they're in
Yes.
essence distilling it down and clarifying it.
Yeah.
And so you're just doing that for yourself. You just put that book down there, you distill and clarify on the page, and then when you look back at it, it suddenly makes sense. It's more coherent. It's
Yes.
clarity on a page. So you become your own
It
guide.
is.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And wherever you
Yeah.
get the time or the thoughts from, because obviously you're saying here, if you're going on a walk and that's a nice place for the brain to have space, because that's the main thing for meditation, isn't it? Of having the space to be able to have thoughts that aren't just I'm working now, so I'm focusing on this thing, so I need to focus on that. You actually have the space for the brain to do its wandering, and then actually you've got the opportunity to take that wandering, clarify, distill, get clear on the next path, and yeah, you can just guide yourself.
Yeah, and it allows you to relive magical moments again. And the best way to enjoy life is to share it. The things that you enjoy. And so, actually, by writing it down and then maybe one day coming back to that and reading it again, go, oh, that was yeah, that's such a good idea. Or that was such a brilliant insight. I've put that into my life, or not, but I've remembered it now. It's a way of reliving something that was brilliant. So there's another reason for journaling.
Picture of your
Another
thoughts,
form.
right? I keep interrupting you, Tom. Sorry. It was a picture
That's
of your
right.
thoughts. I was just thinking when you said that, like we all take pictures of life, right, so that we remember it. But
Yes.
this is the photograph of your thoughts at that moment in
Love
time.
it, Dave. Yeah. Brilliant. See? Excellent. Um, Another form of journaling is gratitude and sort of happiness journaling. It's thinking about the things that we're grateful for. And then it's not sort of broad, oh, I had a great day. It's kind of, oh, that coffee was just brilliant. I really enjoyed, the flavor, the atmosphere that all. So you can appreciate the small things. And as a lady called Sonia Lebrusmisky researched, only 10% of your happiness is due to external circumstances. So actually, by gratitude journaling and thinking about all the things that you're grateful for and happy about, you're reminding yourself internally of all the things, of the feelings. Effectively, you're reliving the feelings and the emotions and the thoughts that brought you that gratitude previously, and realizing that actually it's all within you anyway. So it's actually you're creating your own happiness by reliving it
I
deliberately
have,
through gratitude journaling.
I have another confession for you here. I have in fact done gratitude journaling separately. As
Ah,
you've brought it up, I suddenly thought, oh yeah, I did do that. I actually did that about a year, but it was very straightforward, and it was the end of the night, just before sleep, writing down just three things you were grateful for. It took 5 minutes, but I guess beyond what you've just said there, the thing I found from it was it wasn't reliving stuff. No, sometimes it was, half the time maybe. You kind of just go, oh yeah, I remember that was really great. It's actually sometimes looking for the gratitude within something you wouldn't have noticed it for. And I think that was
mm,
more powerful for me, was realizing regularly that there were things to be grateful for that I hadn't even noticed. Just
mm,
I hadn't even clocked them, and then it
yeah,
helps to, like you say, grow that sense of joyful gratitude in life. That life is actually not so hard because you start to see the things that are wonderful that you would have missed otherwise. So yeah, and
yeah,
it helps to build that platform, that foundation
yeah.
of a more elevated emotional space.
Yes. And by listing down all of those, blessings, we're actually rewiring our brain for more positivity. Again, back to Jackie's book, Focus Your Way to Freedom. If you want to live a better life, you've got to train your brain to look for all of the good things that have happened and actually even look for the blessings in the difficulties. One of my favorite sayings at the moment is that struggle is necessary for growth, whereas suffering is optional because suffering is a perception of something, whereas life is going to happen and it's your perception of it as to whether or not it's good or bad. And if we're wiring our brain deliberately through gratitude journaling and others, to see the positive and the good and what you can be grateful for and the learnings, then you're going to transform your life from the inside out, which is exactly the way to do it. So yet another reason to journal. I'm glad to hear that you've done it before, though. That's great to hear. Why did you stop?
Why did I stop? Actually, I think that one, I went for quite a while with it, and then I replaced it with something else. So at the time, I was just doing that as my primary evening routine, and then I actually started a different evening routine that was taking me too long, and I just decided not to carry on with that and do
Mm.
this other thing instead. Yeah, and the other thing was more of a again, it was writing stuff down though. I was reading certain chapters or a few pages of something, and then I was just writing down my learnings from or my understanding of what I just read. So that was
Yes.
a different kind of form of journaling, I guess.
Yes.
If we go down that road, I didn't think of it as journaling. I actually just thought of it
Mm.
as a bit like revision almost. I was like, read it and then write it. Once you've written it, it's like you make more sense of it. But it's exactly what you've just described. So I was
Yeah.
journaling by accident.
There we go. You see, you've gone from being I'm not a journaler to actually I've realized I am a journaler, but maybe not in the sort of the formal sense that other people make that that assumption that journaling should be done by.
It's so right.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. Another form is so prayer. Prayer has been around since religion began, but the original thoughts around prayer is to give thanks and think about the things that you're grateful for before they've happened. Norman Vincent Peale is a famous orator that said that when you're praying, give thanks as if it's already happened, and sort of that's imagining and visualizing yourself in that state of that it's already happened, and that's exactly a very powerful way to manifest the future. So you're bringing more clarity, you're bringing more strength, more wisdom, more tranquility to yourself in a busy day, and you're slowing down your brain wave lengths as well. So you're going from that high beta, maybe stressed, to a slower, peaceful. So it's kind of a form of meditation in a way as well. It's just an active form because you're writing as well as just being peaceful in the moment and thinking about what it is you might be grateful for example. So there's another reason, sort of prayer on paper. Um, the last one, or not the last one, second for last one would be it's a great way to process pain, difficulty, emotional trauma. And there's a saying to heal the wound, we need to feel the wound. And by writing things down, one, it's a safe space, right? No one's going to read it if you don't want them to, you just hide it away. Um, and by getting it out of your head or emotions, body, and writing it on paper, there's a very much a cathartic process in that. So for anyone who's going through difficulty, writing it down will absolutely alleviate some of that stress and difficulty and hurt. Um, and then from there, you're releasing that emotion onto paper rather than holding it in the body. And as a result, you'll find things change in unexpected ways. So it's a lovely way to release yeah, emotion.
And I know Jackie, for example, does that. Even though she actually does this as a regular process, so she doesn't have a specific grief, as it were, or trauma that she's trying to process. She's actually looks inside for the traumas that she's not seeing. And she does her meditation on what's feeling uncomfortable. She'll find the things that are feeling uncomfortable. She'll actually seek them out. She'll sit with them, and then she uses the journaling. I mean, I see her, watch her meditating. It's literally like she's in and out with that book, back and
Oh wow.
forth. She's like, close her eyes,
Ah,
she's there for a few more minutes, eyes closed, and then she's writing for another 5 minutes, and then back again. And the job, as far as she's concerned, of that is, I want to release those pain points
emotions.
inside, those
Yeah.
things, the traumas that I'm not aware of. It's not obvious, but once you start feeling them and allowing them to happen, they do come out, and you can kind of get better and better at identifying what the cause of that feeling is, or at least
Yes.
finding you start to feel something and then finding, okay, why am I feeling that, and following the thought process till your intuition shows you
Yes.
a kind of an end
Mm.
answer. And she gets that all down on paper, and that's how she
Wow.
processes that. And slowly, over time just lets go and more of those things that are basically holding her back.
Holding it
You know,
back.
what's
Yeah.
restricting her decision making, what's holding her in the place in life that she is, and meaning that she can't make better decisions or can't take better actions, or is feeling less happy most of the time because she won't let herself feel happy because inside
Yes.
there's something there holding her back, and that's her process. It
Mm.
works. It seems to work really well because she's always
Wow.
evolving.
Yeah. That's great, and what a fantastic discipline and habit to have created to reflect on one's thoughts, emotions, and process them to allow them to release and not hold you back. That's a lovely way of doing it. So yeah, using journaling in combination with meditation or prayer or walks, or wherever you get your best ideas and where you need to sit down and just allow processing of emotion. That's all really good stuff. One other reason to journal also is brought to us by a very famous lady, or from lots of famous people in a way. But for example, Anne Frank, if she didn't keep diaries of what she went through, we'd never know about her life. And we don't think about it, but actually, in a few years to come, maybe your children, grandchildren, whoever it might be, someone is interested in you, and by finding and being able to read your journals, your diaries, they get a chance to relive what you went through and learn from it. So it wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea for people to read their journals and diaries, but actually, if it could be of service to others and of interest to others, then yeah, that's also another reason to consider capturing your life on paper and thoughts and emotions and everything else on paper and allow other people to learn from it. So yeah, that's a final thought.
That's a lot of different things. I can see like there's such an array of well options there of why you would do it.
Mm,
I guess one question I have is that most people don't journal because well they just don't really have enough time. They're in their heads, right? It's like I've got too much else to do to sit down and
yeah.
spend a while writing it down. Now you've given lots of reasons why you should make the time there.
Yes.
And I think after this I've asked this question. I'm going to come back to other reasons that maybe you found people it really helpful for people.
Mm,
But I guess my first question is, like, how long does it need to take, and how would you approach it in the rhythm of your day?
yes.
Suggestion for people who want to get over that barrier.
So it would be good, in order to create a habit, we have to be deliberate and committed to it. So I think before, trying it once is obviously not going to work. We have to commit to going, okay, I'm going to do this consistently every day or 3 days a week or whatever it might be, for a set amount of time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, ideally, in order to effectively create a habit. So I would say put it in the diary, do it when it will experiment, see what works best for you. Is it first thing in the morning or is it last thing at night? Is it in the middle of the day or some other time? I think find a time that works for you. For me, it's last thing at night. I have my diary by my bedside table. By the way, I've got a beautiful pen, like a very expensive pen, and also a very beautiful diary. And that helps too because I made it attractive. One of the ways to create a habit is to make it attractive, make it easy, make it rewarding. And when I write with a very expensive pen on very nice paper on very nice book, then it just makes it a little bit more enjoyable as well. So that's another little tip for making it fun and easy because it's right there, it's obvious. Yeah, and so just commit to a time, and then I would say some people just do sort of free flow writing. Uh, Others, like myself, I need a prompt. And so actually one of the things I do now is effectively get questions from online, other places. Um, a group I run, I send questions out as well, and that is my prompt to write about that, and then I've got something to respond to. And for those of you who've already listened to the podcast with Rebecca and Jackie about human design, 70% of people, including yourself and myself, Dave, we are generators or manifesting generators, and therefore we need something to respond to. Jackie, being a manifestor, she can just write. She doesn't need anything. She does it herself. But we need something to respond to. So if we've got questions to work through, that will make it a lot easier to start journaling too. Is responding to whatever questions have been asked, either from online or from a group that you might be part of, or from an email campaign or wherever it might be, where you get your questions. So having questions to respond to helps. You don't need to do it for very long. Personally, 5 minutes or so, kind of until I've answered the questions. And sometimes it flows for longer, and other times it's short. But just getting into the habit of reflective learning in particular, writing down your desires and getting clarity on what it is you want to create going forward this week, this month, this year, this quarter, all of that by writing it down regularly. So writing down your goals as well is going to gain that more greater clarity, and that's going to help too. So that's how and when.
Wow. Okay, I guess I find that you've said morning and evening. It basically follows
Mm,
the lines of when I think that's the best time if you were to meditate.
yeah.
I do think everyone gets into their day and it becomes very hard to pull yourself out of that.
Mm,
And you can't really be in a good reflective space in the middle of your working day. It's very hard.
yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people might be able to, but I definitely can't pull my brain away from work when I'm right in
Yeah.
the middle of it. So having that space of either the sleep just before it, so you're waking up and it's just you've already had that nice big sleep space, or you've finished work, you've had a whole evening, you're getting ready for bed, you've calmed your mind, and you're right, then you're in a much more reflective zone, and it makes a lot
Mm,
of sense. And I hadn't considered this problem of the this responder requirement, right? Because I actually
mm.
remember when I said at the beginning of this podcast that I don't journal. I tried it once, and I tried it once. It didn't work for me because I had a blank page.
Yes.
I think about it, I
I
had a
would I
blank
would struggle.
page,
Yeah.
and I was like, I wrote for a bit, and I was just like, this isn't working for me. And it was just a blank page, and that was the problem. I do want to have something to respond to, so that makes a lot of sense now. Thank you for that. I agree. I've also bought myself a nice book and a lovely pen, and that wasn't specifically for this. It was actually for that other thing I was saying, the gratitude
Yeah.
journaling. I'm going to call it now,
Yes.
and similarly the reading of something quite deep and then writing down my thoughts on it. But it did make a lot of difference. It was really much easier to sit down when you're kind of looking forward to opening that nice book and picking up that
Yeah.
really nice. Well, for me, it was a nice fountain pen.
Yes. Yes.
I never write with a fountain. Hadn't written with a fountain pen for years, and then suddenly it was the joy of how it feels to write
Yes.
with a nice
Old
pen again.
fashioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It was
joyful.
amazing. So yeah, I totally
Absolutely.
agree with those.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
great. So we've heard. I mean, what I'm getting from all of this is that I mean, there's a multitude of reasons you might do it. So in fact, if we talk about journaling, the problem is that the word is too small for the broadness of the spectrum of what you can
Yes.
do with it. It's like we need to see journaling as a header of many different aspects that you've just
Yeah.
covered. And so I guess my question for you is, are there scenarios in life that we can get more specific? And I think you kind of covered it, a bit on a more
Yeah.
broad level, but are there scenarios you found it to be particularly helpful? Like an example you've said is processing grief, for example, or
Yes.
a pain like that. You literally have a very clear trauma, you've just lost a loved one or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you process that quickly? I can clearly see from what you've said, journaling would be a very easy and quick way to help yourself
Yes.
process that in a very healthy manner that helps get through it,
Yeah.
in a lovely way, and also in a way that means you've got prosperity of how your thoughts were at that time, and you can
Mm.
back them. So that is a great one I can see. Now, are there any other scenarios like that you can say you've seen people in, or you've had yourself, where journaling has become that thing that literally took you to the next level? And I guess one of those would be maybe affirmations or
Yeah.
things like that, goal setting. But where have you found
Yeah.
it very specifically to lift you to the next level, or seen someone else
Yes.
to that next
Yeah.
level?
So I guess in the context of property investing, we're growing a property investment business. So asking yourselves, and here's some example questions that maybe you want to write down and use to journal this afternoon, the audience who are listening here. What is your vision for the future? Can you describe it on paper? And what is your vision for your business? What is your vision for your life? Because obviously your business is there to serve your life. What specifically do you want to achieve? When do you want to achieve it by? How achievable do you think it is on a score of 1 to 10? And if it's less than 5, then maybe rethink what your goals are. What's the reason that you want to achieve these goals? Why? What's the driving force? Because everyone needs a really clear driving force. When the why is big enough, the how will take care of itself, as the saying goes. So having a really strong reason is essential. What possible tasks and things could help you achieve your goal? who can help you achieve it? Having a mentor. Is there someone in your life that isn't in your life yet that you need to find that's going to help you get there? So these are all sort of practical questions here, and that has helped me certainly to gain more clarity on what it is I'm doing and what's most important. What's the single most important thing I need to be doing today, this week, this month, that's really going to move my business forward. And when I slow down and think about that, and then I realize that I've been doing all the stuff that I find easier and that I'm reacting to rather than actually being proactive on the things that I really should be doing that's actually going to move the needle on my business. So that's an example of questions like that could help you gain more clarity about what you should be doing in your business. And I have to say, when I'm doing this exercise, that's when more clarity comes. And you can have initial thoughts, answers to a question like that. What else could you do? You just think, yeah, I could do this and could do this. So, okay, now ask yourself again, what else could you do? And when you get to the, 10th or 11th reason, suddenly there's an insight, there's an aha moment of something much deeper that if you hadn't written it down, you would never have got there because you hadn't slowed down your thinking enough to get there. You would have just had the initial thoughts and go, yeah, I'll do this. But so you get more profound insights when you spend time and you get your brain to work harder effectively. So yeah, getting clarity on business and the life you want to lead is a really big one. There's other questions you can get and can create for yourself, or look up on processing pain, or thinking about relationships, or nutrition, or exercise, or whatever it might be. But I guess in the context of property business, those are the ones that sort of spring to mind initially.
I think
So yeah,
I've got a couple. I've got a couple as well. You've just kind of sparked in me that I suddenly realised we do anyway with our clients on our
yeah,
mentees. Every single week we sit down on a very short call with our mentees, don't we? 15 minutes
yeah,
as a group, and the one question we ask them is, "What's the biggest challenge this
yeah,
week you need to overcome to move your property business forwards?" It's a very simple
yeah,
question, and everyone has to make that moment to decide what is their biggest challenge right now that's holding them back. And I can
yeah,
see that being, you could use that in any setting or circumstance. What's the biggest challenge
mm,
this day, that tomorrow that I'm going to face, that I need to overcome? Or what's the biggest challenge I have right now to stop me being a happier person? What's the biggest
yeah,
challenge right now I have to being able, having more loving relationships? You could literally apply it to any thing in your life and say, well, what's the
mm,
biggest challenge I need to overcome to have that thing in my life be better,
mm,
or have it, full stop?
yeah,
So that was one thing that came to mind. I think that's a
yes,
question you could just repeat over and over again, rinse and repeat across so many different aspects of life. And another one that leads on from that, I think, is the idea of, who do I need to be? Who do I need
right,
to be to
yes,
overcome that challenge? So it's almost a two-parter. I've got this challenge, and who is it that I need to become,
yes,
or have more of from my current facets, as it were? Who do I need
mm,
to be or become to overcome that challenge and become and get to the next level? And I think the who do I need to be question so often sparks a great sense of self-awareness. You look back on
mm,
yourself with much more clarity and perspective. You say, well, who am I now? And what is it about
mm,
me that's causing blockages, or contributing to that challenge being more of a challenge? Because if I my biggest challenge right now is finding investors to be able to do my deals, but actually I'm an underconfident person who doesn't really believe in myself. Then you've got
right,
real clarity when you start thinking, who do I need to be to find those investors and get on board? Well, I actually need to come across as a confident person. I need to be someone who's more confident. I need to be someone who believes in my product, who believes in my deals, who believes in my business and my expertise. And you start getting a whole different awareness of where you're at versus where you
you need
want
to
to
be,
be.
yeah,
And then the last question, I guess, is
yes,
what do I need to do to become that person? And it
there we
could
go,
just be as
yeah,
simple as affirmations. It could be that becomes your set of affirmations for the next month.
mm,
Who do I need to be? I need to be a confident person. So now you're affirming every
yeah,
day. You have it all listed down. I am a confident person.
yeah,
Whatever affirmations are going to come out of
yeah,
that that questioning. So I can see that being ridiculously powerful as well, and also more importantly, something you can literally go through, churn through as a cycle. It's constant. You're always questioning this in your business, in your life, and there's never an end to that. There will always be a new version of yourself to be. There will always be a new challenge to overcome, and there'll also be a new goal you want to get towards. So I think that I can see that being super powerful.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you said it's who do you need to be, not what you need to do, because it starts with being, starts with who you are being. It's your personality, effectively, that creates your personal reality, as Joseph Spencer says. And so, actually, if we want to get different results, we have to change who we are. We have to change our personality, and that starts with who we are being. I am confident. I am, and that's telling yourself, and that's what thinking is, by the way. Thinking is you talking to yourself. It's self-talk. And if you haven't got the right self-talk, then you're going to be, talking yourself down and talking yourself out of doing things, out of being things that actually are going to help you get to where you want to be. So it's really important that you phrase the question the right way, which is who am I being? I love that. That's really good.
Brilliant. Right. So Dom, give us a conclusion, your final thoughts on everything you've just said. What do you think you want to leave people with when they think about journaling?
I would say, look, if you want to be a high performer, which I think most people do, then you need to do the things that high performing people do, which is journaling. And I've given lots of reasons to do it. And I think I would say try it and commit to it for at least 30 days. And you don't need to make it overly onerous, but just get a question or two or three that you answer every day, and look and spot how much that gives you clarity on what it is that you're on what it is you need to do, on who you need to be, and watch the changes in your own life and the insights that come from it too. So that's what I would say is give it a go and watch.
Thank you so much, Dom. Love it when you go off on one like that. Great energy. If you are interested to find out more about working with Dom, he has recently developed and launched a brand new program called Unleash You, which is for those of you who are maybe struggling with procrastination. You've done a lot of training, but you're not really getting the results that you want from all of it. And it's a different perspective on how you can get out of your own way to make sure that you start raising finance and doing deals. So that's called Unleash You. I'll put a link in the show notes for that if you want to find out more. This time next week, I'll be joined by Yvette Mallinson, and we're going to be talking about shifting from the employee mindset to the entrepreneur's mindset. And she's going to be sharing the lessons that she's had going through that journey herself, creating a children's home business with revenues over $1 million, raising over £1.5 million in finance. She's a beautiful human and so many amazing lessons to learn. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that session with you. So until then, have a great week ahead.